Okay, the Ice Age is not over. Let me explain to you small brains out there, and I'm talking to scientists. Now, they come with this lie and say the Ice Age ended 15,000 years ago. Well, how can that possibly be if there's still ice, a ton of ice up there, right? Now, it's not just simply that. The Ice Age, if you did a little bit of research, the Ice Age, as they say, started roughly 2.4 million years ago. And prior to that, especially on the North Pole, guess how much ice there was? Nothing. Not a drop. Nothing. In fact, there were rainforests up there. You go back, you know, close to 3 million years ago, there were rainforests all over the place. The Sahara Desert was a lush forest 3 million years ago. And then something happened, some change on the earth, and Sahara dried up, and we had the Ice Age. And we've been slowly, and of course, there were many ice ages within that. In other words, you had the big freeze 2.4 million years ago. And then, since then, you've had a bunch of ice ages and mini ice ages, and it warmed up, and it cooled down, and it warmed up, and cooled down, and on and on. And so now that we're getting close to the end of the actual ice age, because there's still ice there, things are slowly warming up, obviously, because we probably have, I don't know, maybe 100 or 200 years, maybe a little more, for all the ice melts. Then you could say the ice age is over. I mean, think about it. You can't, if there was no ice, and it wasn't just no ice for a short time. I mean, possibly ever. I mean, the whole history of the Earth. And then suddenly there's a big shift, and around 2.4 million years ago, we have this ice age. So then logic tells you it's not over until all the ice is melted and the Earth is back to its normal, if there you could even say a normal, because it's not necessarily a norm for the Earth. It's constantly changing. But yeah, but for lack of a better term, once the ice melts, 300 years from now, then the Earth will be at or close to what it was before, and you'll have more of the norm of what the Earth is supposed to be. We know about the Younger Dryas event about 11,600 years ago to 11,200 years ago, where we had a massive, massive increase in temperature and a ton of ice melted very fast. And so seas rose 400 feet. That's how much ice melted. And then, of course, the evaporation. So there was so much moisture in the air. There was torrential rains, monsoon type rains all over the globe. And so when they talk about the flood in the Bible, most likely that's what they're talking about, is that event where it rained so much and the seas rose so much. It didn't rise from the rain entirely. It rose from the melting ice. 400 feet, that is huge. Now the vast, vast majority of the ice is melted, so they're probably right when they say about another 5 meters higher the water will go, the seas, if all the ice is melted. It's probably somewhat right. But you also have to remember there'll be more precipitation because more water, more of the ice will be melting, and so you'll have more rains. So people, they want to say that the earth will dry up and there'll be deserts everywhere, which is ludicrous. Anybody in the scientific world knows the adage. Whatever water was, is. However much water was, is. Which means you go back a billion years ago, however much water there was then is the exact amount to the drop that's still here today. Water doesn't just disappear. Right? It evaporates. You drink it and it runs through your body and then comes out in all kind of forms. Urine, feces, tears, sweat, spit, and other bodily fluids, which then go into the earth, or they go into the atmosphere, and it just gets recycled. So I'd like to mess with people and say that, hey, guess what? That water you're drinking right now, yeah, that's feces and urine water. It's recycled, which is true. Every drop, every drop of water that you drink is recycled urine and feces, and because over the billions of years, it's all been recycled. I mean, think of all the trillions of creatures on the planet. They all drink water. They all collect moisture through the air, through their skins and whatnot. And where does the water go? Oh yeah, it goes through their body and comes out. So, congratulations, we're all drinking recycled urine. But anyway, but we know with certainty that right now, in fact, and NASA said it, because they've got their satellite imagery that they study, and NASA is not right-wing, they're left-wing, and they came out last year and said that the Earth is going through a greening phase. It's getting greener. It's not drying up, it's getting greener. Here's why. Okay, so let me back up a notch. So the large commercial greenhouses, they pump in 800 to 1,000 parts per million of carbon into the greenhouse. Now, why do they do that? Now, by the way, in the atmosphere, it's roughly 400 parts per million of carbon. Okay, so they pump in 2 to 2.5 times what's in the atmosphere. Why do they do it? Because the results are the plants grow faster, greener, and use less water. Not all plants react like that, but many of them do. And so that's what's happening now. You have an increase of carbon, and so many plants are growing up using less water, faster, they're getting greener. So we are going through a greening phase right now. And that's not going to stop. It's going to get more and more. You have to understand, I mean, there's areas that are deserts now that were forests. There's areas that were deserts before and now forests. I mean, it changes constantly. It's a slow change, but it changes. And we have no control over it. Well, maybe nowadays we have a tiny bit, possibly, with the way we manipulate things, but virtually no control over it. No matter what, the Earth is going to do whatever it's going to do. So, also, a side note, I want to add that the carbon that's in the atmosphere, it's not all from, first of all, it's not just one carbon. It's carbon monoxide and carbon dioxide. Okay? The monoxide comes from your tailpipes and the smoke stacks from factories and whatnot. Carbon dioxide is what we breathe out. We breathe in oxygen, we breathe out carbon dioxide, and that's what plants breathe in. And then they breathe out oxygen. So, what was I going to say? Yes. But you also have to factor in volcanoes and fissures in the water. I mean, on the ground. Whether it's under the water or whether it's on top of the soil, cracks in the surface coming from deep and seeps out carbon and other chemicals. And of course, volcanic action does the same. So not all the carbon that's coming into the atmosphere is from us anyway. In other words, if we stopped everything now, we didn't spew one bit of carbon in the air, there'd still be carbon getting added to the atmosphere through volcanic action. So, anyway, I went off on a little bit longer than I wanted to, but the point is the ice age is not over until all the ice is melted. Thank you.